Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of Social Services Exposure. This is episode number 8. It's a bad health diagnosis and the issues regarding different health issues both boys have had during the case. Obviously, some have been worse than others. Obviously, as the case ran through the end of the main bit of COVID, the start of the case did anyway. My youngest had some chest problems. At the time, they were minor at best. However, the social were more pushing this as cystic fibrosis, but we were then fighting back against this, saying there's no way it can be, due to the fact we are not positive with cystic fibrosis, because you need two parents to be positive with that. Because obviously I do have this as evidence here, because you see on the second page here, it says if you have variant mutation in one copy of the CF gene, you're a carrier of cystic fibrosis. And it says a baby will be born with CF if they inherit two CF gene variants, one from each biological parent, which neither of us have the CF gene. And then it says around 1 in 25 people in the UK are carriers, which me and the wife are not carriers, so there is no way he could have had cystic fibrosis. Well, we'll just give you a few of the other bits, because obviously normally when a baby is born, they then have the heel test. Obviously, yes, he had that heel prick test, and that came up clear. And obviously they can have a sweat test later on, which is what they forced him through. That came up clear. No on the white came up clear. And then obviously they were pushing him through all this, and then they put him through all these chest exercises, which made him worse and worse and worse and worse. And obviously, which was the late diagnosis, which is what they were pushing for, to get him all these things, and now he's got chest issues. And that's why he's now going to have these for the rest of his life. And they don't understand why. They just seem to blame it on, it could be anything. No, it's a fact of your misdiagnosis. You forced it through because you believe you're always right when you're not. The social is often wrong. You never listen to the parents. If you did, you'd often get it right. Because we clearly were right that time. We knew he didn't have cystic fibrosis. It was more long COVID at best, or just a serious chest infection. And that's what we were pushing down the roots of. But no, they were going, no, it's cystic fibrosis, it has to be, it can't be anything other. And obviously, when this causes further issues in later life, we will be coming after you. And we will be expecting money out of you for all this, because you're not medically trained, you know nothing about illnesses, you know absolutely nothing. And then the second issue with again the youngest, because as mentioned in previous videos, during one of the foster care stays, which was the Thomases, he was being forced into several size too small a shoe, and this did affect his feet massively. And I do have evidence for this, how it affects your feet, which I am going to bring up on screen now. 1 second, just flipped that one tab. It says wearing shoes that are too small absolutely does destroy your feet over time. Constant crowding and pressure can cause permanent bone reshaping, which he has gone through, and he has had nerve damage and painful structural deformities, I'm not sure about the bunions, but I know the word hammertoes has been mentioned, and neurohamams, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It also restricts circulation and causes painful ingrown toenails and blisters and calluses. Because obviously he struggles to run, he struggles to walk at times, and he has been known to fall over due to these issues. So according to experts, here are the specific ways ill-fitting footwear damages your feet. So you get permanent deformities. Narrow or short shoes force your toes into unnatural positions. Over time, this leads to painful bunions where the big toe angles inward, and hammer toes where the toes bend downward. Nerve and tissue damage. Constricted feet can develop Morton's neuroma, which is a painful burning nerve thickening between the toes. It also frequently causes persistent heel pain and a plantar fasciitis. Painful skin and nails. Consistent rubbing causes blisters and painful corns, while excessive pressure can result in ingrown toenails and nail damage. Or poor posture and joint pain. When your toes are squashed, your foot can't properly balance and distribute weight. This alters your natural stride and can lead to chronic ankle, knee, hip and lower back pain. To protect your feet, make sure your footwear has at least 10mm to 12mm space past your longest toe, wide enough to toe box to let your toes spread naturally. If you're experiencing perpetual pain or visibility deformities, you should consult a pediatrician. Actually, yes, this is where he's had these major issues. He's now having to see surgeons to get this sorted, but he shouldn't have had to ever go down this route. But it's not the only one that's done this to him as a foster carer. Yes, his current one has done it to him as well, but this is where it goes darker as well, because his current one, there's two versions of the story, because Louise tells us, oh, it's just a slightly ill-fitting welly. But then when you speak to our youngest, he then goes and says, no, it was a too small a welly. So which is it? I believe my child over the local authority, because they just tell lies to protect they tell lies to protect the foster care. We know that. So yes, Louise, you're a liar, and you're only doing it to protect Ruth because we know you want her in the job. You're saying she's God's gift as always. So yes, there's the proof for that. And then the third issue, which is going on to my eldest, he has always suffered hyperglycemia since he was very, very young, and we've always had to find out what he's been allowed to eat and drink, and it's the opposite of diabetes effectively, and he's not allowed anything that's high in sugar, for example things like full Coke or hydration drinks. So I've got a list here what he is allowed, what he's not allowed. So he's not allowed sugary beverages like regular sodas, sweetened iced teas, fruit punches, energy drinks, fruit juices, smoothies, juicing breaks down fruit fibres, causing a swift spike in glucose. Limit to one small 150ml glass a day. Obviously, because he's a kid, he wouldn't be allowed alcohol anyway. Foods to avoid would be things like white bread, white pasta, white rice, tortillas made with white flour, candy, cakes, cookies, pasties, ice cream, etc. So there's sorts of things he isn't allowed. But throughout this case, my eldest has reported to ourselves that he has been drinking Prime Hydration. And obviously Prime Hydration is one of these drinks he isn't allowed. And obviously when we've reported this to the social, they've accused him of lying to cover this up for the social. But it's also been confirmed as well, so multiple levels of lying here, but no, it's not. So the other side of it is, so when it causes him to go into a sugar coma, this is completely on you, Cheshire West, because I don't trust you as far as I can throw you, because obviously I know you're always going to deny the fact he's drinking it, and he should never be allowed to drink it. That's the issue, because obviously he is not lying about drinking this. And also, why are his foster carers being allowed to get away with it? Because you don't care. He's just a number on a bit of paper. So when something happens medically, you can just write him off. That's effectively. So, for the children's health and safety, if I was to give you marks out of 10, the foster cares I'd give you 0 out of 10. And again, the social workers, 0 out of 10. Because you do not have a duty of care to any children. That is a fact. Because you're proving it. Time and time and time again. You make that many mistakes. And it just proves you just need to hand children back, because they would be safer in our care than they would be in your care, because you would just honestly let them pass away. That is how it goes, and I will not rest until all this information gets out there. Proves how awful you are, Cheshire West. And why you are the child catchers. You've earned that name. Honestly, you have. And when I get this whole story out there, people will see you for the truth you really are. And people should avoid you like the plague. Because I don't trust you, I never have. But that's the end of episode 8. I will be getting episode 9 out there shortly. Again, thank you and goodbye.